More details on the backstage confrontation between CM Punk and Jack Perry at All In this past weekend at Wembley Stadium have now been revealed, in addition to news that there almost was a second physical altercation between CM Punk and Miro after the incident in question with Jack Perry. Details on that, plus after the news that CM Punk and Jack Perry have been suspended by All Elite Wrestling, reports are now suggesting that CM Punk has not been informed he's been suspended by AEW. We have the ratings for this past week's edition of AEW Collision on TNT, as well as the ratings for SmackDown on Fox. Brian Pillman Jr. begins his WWE career at the Performance Center, and Grado opens up as to how his All-In experience came together. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of professional wrestling. And let's start off, unfortunately, once again, talking about more details from the backstage altercation between Jack Perry and CM Punk at AEW All In this past weekend at Wembley Stadium in London. Plenty of news surrounding this over the last several days, but we've got more details on this once again now from Brian Alvarez from Wrestling Observer Live. Now, he is reporting these differing and new details that we haven't heard before regarding the first incident in question and then possibly a second incident involving CM Punk and Miro. Let's start off in the right sort of timeline of events here, starting off with what Brian Alvarez is reporting, what he has been told, which, let's be honest, most likely probably comes from the Jack Perry side of things. According to Brian Alvarez and what he's saying on Wrestling Observer Live, he was told that Jack Perry walked to the back after his match against Hook for the FTW Championship on the All In 0 Hour pre-show, and as he walked by CM Punk, Punk asked him if he had a problem with him. Perry responded by telling Punk that Punk heard what he said out there, referencing what Jack Perry said about its real glass Crimea River into the camera. Punk reportedly, again this comes from Brian Alvarez, Punk then informed Jack Perry that he could beat his ass. Punk then shoved him and put him in a choke. The physicality was in the gorilla position, and it got reportedly so close to AEW President, Head of Creative, General Manager and CEO Tony Khan that actually the monitors that surround him fell on top of the AEW President. The physicality, again, was so big and so grandiose, actually stuff was starting to fall on the AEW President, according to Brian Alvarez. Samoa Joe was reportedly the one who broke up the fight, which does align with other reporting from the likes of Sean Ross Sapp, Pro Wrestling Torch PW Insider, that suggests that Samoa Joe acted as peacekeeper, spoke to CM Punk, got the match together so it could go on first, and there wasn't going to have to be a change in match order or anything like that. But an interesting tidbit to this certainly is that the physicality was so much that actual equipment started to fall on the AEW president himself. So Tony Khan certainly would have seen the whole thing, would have seen at least partially what had happened in the first place, and would be key to this ongoing investigation surrounding both who have seemingly been suspended by All Elite Wrestling moving forward. Now, what's also very interesting, and this has not been reported anywhere at all, this is the first being sort of put out there by Brian Alvarez today on Wrestling Observer Live. He is suggesting that he has heard there was almost a second physical backstage incident at AEW All In at Wembley Stadium in London over the weekend. Brian Alvarez is claiming that when CM Punk came back through the curtain after his Real World Championship match against Samoa Joe, Miro, who we do know was at Wembley Stadium, he appeared on the 0 Hour pre-show in a contract signing segment with Powerhouse Hobbs. Miro confronted CM Punk and asked him about what happened with Jack Perry. Punk asked him if he had a problem with him and if he wanted to step outside. We don't really know, again, the sort of aftermath of that, but CM Punk certainly seemingly was in somewhat of a fighting mood. Now, once again, this would maybe align to what Miro had tweeted out, of course, Wrestle Purist, during the show once the story was breaking that there had been a physical confrontation between CM Punk and Jack Perry. Miro quote tweeted Wrestle Purist's aggregating account of that incident and said it was fake and untrue. Now, again, is that because he's spoken to Jack Perry? Is that because he thought that he was the one that had a physical altercation with CM Punk? I don't know, but what are your thoughts on these new details? What are your thoughts on there possibly being close to a second altercation with Miro? What does this mean about Miro's future with AEW Collision, seemingly that's the CM Punk show and he can You can demand who does and doesn't appear in it. Let me know your thoughts about all of it in the comment section below. Now, speaking of CM Punk, I mentioned as well that when we spoke about this earlier today, CM Punk and Jack Perry seemingly had been suspended by All Elite Wrestling, but it appears that one party, a big party involved in this, CM Punk, hasn't been informed of his suspension by All Elite Wrestling. As the fallout from AEW All In continues, it has emerged that CM Punk has not been informed of a suspension by All Elite Wrestling. As I mentioned, during All In, Punk was reportedly involved in an altercation with Jack Perry. The incident in question stemmed from Punk allegedly leaking news that he had prevented Perry from using real glass in a spot on Collision this summer. Perry made reference to the reports live in Wembley during his FTW Championship match with Hook, telling the camera that the windscreen on the car they were fighting on was, quote, real glass, cry me a river, end quote, before the two went crashing through it. When Perry got to the back, he approached Punk, who was preparing for his own match with Samoa Joe, and the two got into a physical confrontation. As I mentioned, and we kind of hinted at this with Brian Alvarez earlier on and the other reports that have come out, there are varying reports on what exactly happened here, but it ended up with the belief that both Punk and Perry have been suspended by All Elite Wrestling while an investigation takes place into the incident. However, according to sources close to CM Punk, that's news to the real world champion. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select tweeted out the following, saying, quote, we're told that as of now, CM Punk has not been informed of a suspension by AEW. No word on Jack Perry, which is interesting because everyone else had confirmed that a suspension indeed had taken place. It was reported by the likes of Brian Alvarez, Sports Illustrated, who have very strong ties to AEW. Of course, they broke the story or were fed the story by AEW regarding the Elite's contract renewals earlier this year. Sean Ross Sapp had indeed confirmed this himself, but it was also then confirmed by Dave Meltzer too, saying that Punk and Perry are definitely suspended. So it might be a case of CM Punk being suspended factually by AEW, but he maybe hasn't been informed of it. Of course, if Punk has been suspended, it would reportedly have severe and serious ramifications for All Out, which is being held in his hometown of Chicago on September 3rd. Unsurprisingly, according to Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select, it was planned for Punk to perform in the city this weekend, although no match has been announced for him as of right now. If he's no longer going to be a part of the show, Tony Khan would have to hastily rewrite his plans for the event. So what are your thoughts on CM Punk seemingly not knowing or being not informed that he has been suspended, but it getting out there first? What are your thoughts on this entire situation, how messy it's becoming? Is it a case of, when it comes to the communication, the left hand not knowing what the right hand is doing? Is it a case, once again, of AEW needing to approve when it comes to talent relations? And how does AEW get a handle involved in all of this? Does the buck stop with Tony Khan? Does he need to do better? He was there in Gorilla when this was happening, and does he need to get a grip of the company? Let me know your thoughts about all of it in the comments section below. Now, speaking of CM Punk, he was involved in the main event of the Go Home edition for AEW All In of Collision this weekend. Of course, it was taped this past Wednesday after AEW Dynamite, and the ratings rebounded somewhat from the prior week. The night before AEW All In, a pre-taped episode of AEW Collision saw a rise in overall viewership compared to the week before, but a slight drop in the 18 to 49 demographic. According to WrestleNomics, Collision brought in 552,000 viewers on average, an increase of 15%. The demo fell from 0.18 last week to 0.16 on Saturday's episode. 36% more people outside of the 18 to 49 demo tuned in this week compared to the median from the last month, helping to make up the difference from the lower demo rating this week. Additionally, 32% more women between the ages of 35 and 49 tuned in on Saturday compared to the recent median. Quarter-hour ratings for Collision have yet to be revealed. Over on YouTube, the most viewed clip from Saturday's show featured the highlights from the main event, which included CM Punk, Sting, Darby Allin, Hook, Swerve Strickland, Switchblade Jay White, Luchasaurus, and Christian Cage. As of this recording, that video has around 450,000 views, while the second most popular video has just a third of that. That video shows highlights of Orange Cassidy, Eddie Kingston, and Penta El Zero Miedo facing Kip Sabian, The Butcher, and The Blade in the show's opening bout. Collision was taped, as I mentioned, last Wednesday instead of live on Saturday night as per usual, due to All In taking place overseas in London, England. In addition to the main event and the trios match, Collision included John Silver and Alex Reynolds of the Dark Order defeating Action Andretti and Darius Martin, and Willow Nightingale, Big Bill, and Keith Lee all picking up victories in singles competition. What are your thoughts on the ratings for last week's tape show? And given the fact that this weekend seemingly they're going to be going up against college football and maybe without CM Punk there as well, how is AEW Collision going to fare in the ratings this time around? Let me know your thoughts about that. Now, switching over to WWE, not surprisingly, this past week's episode of SmackDown saw a sharp rise in total viewers and ratings, and the key 1849 demographic, of course. Friday night's episode of SmackDown, an emotional tribute to the late Bray Wyatt, also known in real life as Wyndham Rotunda, and Terry Funk, averaged 2.647 million viewers. Yes, once again, that's 2.647 million viewers on Fox. That's up 26.4% from the previous week. It's the largest audience total for SmackDown since Christmas Day in 2020, when the show had the benefit of an NFL game as a lead-in on Christmas Day. Aside from that episode, if you want to take that episode as an outlier, aside from that episode, this is SmackDown's best viewership since February 28, 2020. So certainly, again, very, very, very strong. SmackDown finished second on network television to an NFL preseason game on CBS in total viewers, but it was actually first in the key demographic with a 0.78 rating, up 41.8% from last week. That's also the highest key demo number since Christmas Day 2020. As compared to the same week in 2022, SmackDown's total viewers were up 33%, while its 18 to 49 rating was up 62.5%. So again, it must be said, it's no surprise, obviously, given the news and everything going on, that the ratings were up so much. What are your thoughts on the numbers, and what do you think of the episode of SmackDown on Friday? Was it a fitting tribute to the late Terry Funk and Wyndham Rotunda? Now, speaking about WWE, and actually, I guess it kind of mixes AEW and WWE moving forward, Brian Pillman Jr., former AEW star, was expected to debut on WWE NXT earlier this month, but the former AEW star has yet to make his long-awaited first televised appearance. According to PW Insider, the second-generation star officially begins his WWE tenure this week, as he's officially wrapped up all of his independent dates. The report also states that it might be a while until Pillman actually makes his debut on NXT television. The current plan is to get him integrated into the WWE Performance Center system and give him time to get used to it. As of this recording, it's unknown what the promotion's current plans for Pillman are in regard to a future debut and creative direction. Of course, Pillman's AEW contract expired in July, and he reportedly attended a WWE tryout shortly thereafter. The second-generation star found television time hard to come by in Tony Khan's promotion, with his last on-screen appearance taking place against Swerve Strickland on an episode of Rampage back in February. He also competed at an AEW House Rules event back in May, which was his last ever match with the company. WWE was reportedly very interested in acquiring his services as soon as he became a free agent. Prior to joining WWE, Pillman had been competing on the independent scene. His last match occurred on August 5th, which saw him face Kenny Morton for the NWA Junior Heavyweight Championship at the Team Up Promotion show. After the match, Morton showered his opponent with plaudits while noting he was moving on to bigger things, and seemingly those bigger things indeed are being a regular member at the Performance Center and a member of the NXT roster moving forward. Finally, we saw Grado appear at AEW All In on the 0 Hour pre-show this weekend. Grado has now commented on his surprise appearance at AEW All In London at Wembley Stadium, revealing how his role in the show came to be. A Scottish star accompanied Paul White and Anthony Ogogo to the ring during the August 27 0 Hour pre-show to confront Jeff Jarrett, Jay Lethal and Satnam Singh. Speculation grew about Grado potentially appearing on the Wembley Stadium show after Jeff Jarrett hit Grado with a guitar in a TalkSport interview back in July. Speaking with Cultaholic, Grado noted that he actually got the call to appear on the All In pre-show on Thursday night. Admitting that he was nervous about all the speculation, Grado said, quote, "I got called probably Thursday night to be at Wembley. Nothing was ever confirmed. I had people congratulating me after the TalkSport spot. Oh my God, you're wrestling at Wembley. You versus Jeff Jarrett. People were making graphics. I felt so uneasy. I never tweeted anything since the thing with TalkSport. I'm staying out of this. I didn't want to upset anyone. People were asking, why don't you jump on the hashtag campaign? I felt so uneasy. I need to thank everybody that sent a heartwarming and positive Grado tweet in the last 7 days, because I reckon that had a big part to play in the fact that I ended up being at Wembley. And at the end of the day, it's an AEW show. Those are guys that have worked hard for years to get on a show like that on the AEW roster. I always knew if it doesn't happen, I don't really deserve to be at their show, so I'm going to go with the flow and hope for the best." So seemingly it was a very last minute decision, and maybe it was because of the social media campaign to have Grado be there. But there you go, guys. This latest pro wrestling news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe bottom right hand corner. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.